Some stories from American history are so improbable, so drenched in risk, courage, and coincidence that they feel like fiction. Yet every word of them is true. This is one of those stories. In the spring of 1777, during the darkest hours of the American Revolution, a quiet, unassuming young schoolteacher named Sybil Ludington mounted her horse in the dead of night. She was only 16. To most of the country, her name remains little more than a footnote, but her midnight ride was twice as long and arguably more dangerous than Paul Revere's, and it may have saved hundreds of American lives. Sybil was the eldest daughter of Colonel Henry Ludington, a respected militia officer in Paterson, New York. Her father's regiment was spread thin across several miles of rugged countryside, and British troops, along with Loyalist fighters, had begun raiding villages along the Hudson Valley, burning homes, seizing supplies, terrifying civilians. The war had turned personal, ugly, and unpredictable. On the evening of April 26th, a rider arrived at the Ludington home breathless and panicked. The British were marching toward Danbury, Connecticut, a key supply depot for the Continental Army. If the militia could not be rallied immediately, everything stored there, gunpowder, food, medicine, would be lost. But Colonel Ludington faced an impossible problem. His men were scattered, and the rider who carried the news was exhausted, unable to ride farther. Before he could decide what to do, Sybil stepped forward. She knew the backroads better than most grown men, could ride in any weather, and understood what was at stake. The British weren't only attacking a supply depot, they were threatening the survival of the revolution itself. With her father's stunned approval, Sybil saddled her horse, Star, and galloped into the night. The world she rode through was filled with danger. The countryside was thick with Tory loyalists, some armed and eager to capture or kill any rebel messenger. Rain poured in sheets, turning the dirt roads into rivers of mud. Wolves howled from the woods. Her only weapons were determination and the courage to stay on the trail. For nearly 40 miles, Sybil thundered from farmhouse to farmhouse, shouting the alarm, "The British are burning Danbury! The militia must gather at Ludington's!" Oil lamps flickered to life behind windows as families awoke in confusion. Men grabbed muskets and cartridge boxes. Children peeked from behind doorways at the drenched teenage girl on horseback who carried news more explosive than any bullet. By dawn, exhausted but unbroken, Sybil returned home soaked, chilled, and mud-splattered. But behind her came a wave of armed militia, hundreds of men who would march to Danbury and help repel British forces the next day. The depot was partly destroyed, but the militia saved countless supplies and prevented the British from sweeping deeper into New York. George Washington himself later praised Sybil for her bravery. And yet, unlike Revere, she received no early fame, no broadside ballads, no poems in school textbooks. Her heroism slipped quietly through the cracks of history until long after her death. Today, Sybil Ludington's ride stands as one of the most astonishing acts of youthful courage in the American Revolution, a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary chapters of history are written not by generals or presidents, but by ordinary people who refuse to let fear decide the outcome. It is the story of a girl, a horse, a storm, and a nation on the edge of collapse, held together, if only for a night, by the bravery of one determined rider.